Well, I didn't think of myself as doing comedy. I thought of it as doing just representing life, like I witnessed in the old apartment house where I grew up.
Lily Tomlin, comedy legend, groundbreaking performer, the woman who gave us Ernestine the telephone operator and Edith Ann. She's been making us laugh for over 5 decades with her brilliant characters and razor-sharp wit. But what if I told you that behind that iconic cackle and those unforgettable one-liners,
I never shot anything I didn't eat.
Okay, here we go. How is Lily Tomlin related to John Travolta? John Travolta is my illegitimate child.
Tomlin harbored some serious grudges against fellow actors. That's right. The woman who seemed to get along with everyone from Jane Fonda to Steve Martin actually had a dark side when it came to certain performers. From method actors who took themselves too seriously to comedy rivals who stole her thunder, from Hollywood phonies to the ultimate betrayal that allegedly haunted her for years. We're counting down the 6 actors Lily Tomlin allegedly couldn't stand. And trust me, number 1 involves a betrayal so shocking it supposedly changed how Tomlin approached collaboration forever. This isn't just professional jealousy. We're talking about deep personal hatred disguised as industry politics. Buckle up, because this comedy legend's grudges are about to get seriously dramatic.
Last Thursday, Miss Pickett wet the bed, and we thought she'd outgrown that.
When I first pitched Edith Ann to the writers and to the whole staff, they didn't really like her. They thought she was too bratty, and so I had to do her out of a refrigerator box.
Her 6, Chevy Chase. Coming in at number 6, we have Chevy Chase. And this feud was comedy ego warfare at its most brutal. The tension between Tomlin and Chase allegedly started during the height of Saturday Night Live's popularity in the mid-1970s, when both were considered comedy royalty. But while Tomlin was building her reputation on character work and social commentary, Chase was becoming famous for his smug, privileged persona. Industry insiders claim the bad blood began when Chase made dismissive comments about sketch comedy for intellectuals, a remark that many interpreted as a dig at Tomlin's more sophisticated approach to humor. Sources close to Tomlin allegedly heard her respond that Chase was all smirk, no substance. But here's where it gets really ugly. The rivalry intensified when both were being considered for similar film projects in the late 1970s. Tomlin reportedly felt that Chase was getting roles based on his appearance rather than his comedic ability, telling friends he represented everything wrong with Hollywood's idea of funny. The breaking point supposedly came during a 1978 industry party where Chase allegedly made condescending remarks about female comedians, suggesting they had to work twice as hard because they weren't naturally funny. Witnesses claim Tomlin's response was swift and brutal, telling Chase he wouldn't recognize natural talent if it bit him on his perfectly capped teeth. Rush of 5, Bert Reynolds. At number 5, we have Bert Reynolds, and this clash was about everything Tomlin despised about old Hollywood masculinity. The feud allegedly started during the filming of Nashville, when both actors were part of Robert Altman's ensemble cast. While Tomlin was focused on creating authentic characters, Reynolds reportedly treated the production like a personal showcase for his charm and charisma. Industry sources claim Tomlin was irritated by Reynolds' approach to acting, which she allegedly called movie star posing instead of actual performance. The tension supposedly escalated when Reynolds made comments about how real actors didn't need to hide behind character work. But the real conflict centered around their different attitudes toward the craft. Tomlin, who had built her career on meticulous character development, allegedly resented Reynolds' casual approach to preparation and his reliance on natural charm rather than technique. The breaking point reportedly came when Reynolds made dismissive comments about theatrical actors who overthink their performances. Sources close to Tomlin claim she told friends that Reynolds represented everything shallow about movie stardom: looks over talent, personality over skill. The most damaging incident allegedly occurred during a script reading when Reynolds questioned one of Tomlin's character choices, suggesting she was being too weird for mainstream audiences. Witnesses claim Tomlin's response was devastating, telling Reynolds he wouldn't recognize good acting if it came with a mustache and a Trans Am. Industry insiders reported that Tomlin actively campaigned against Reynolds, receiving certain awards and recognition, believing he was undeserving of serious acclaim for what she considered superficial performances. This feud represented Tomlin's broader frustration with Hollywood's tendency to reward style over substance. Number 4 brings us to Dustin Hoffman, and this rivalry was method acting versus character comedy in the most personal way possible. The tension allegedly started when both Tomlin and Hoffman were being praised as revolutionary performers who were changing how audiences thought about acting. But while Tomlin's approach was rooted in comedy and character work, Hoffman's method acting was being hailed as more serious and artistic. Industry sources claim Tomlin resented the critical establishment's tendency to treat dramatic acting as inherently superior to comedy. She allegedly felt that Hoffman's intense, neurotic performances were getting more respect than her equally complex character work simply because they weren't funny. But here's where it gets personal. The rivalry intensified when both were considered for gender-bending roles in the early 1980s. While Hoffman eventually starred in Tootsie, sources claim Tomlin had been developing similar projects and felt that Hoffman's version was a pale imitation of the groundbreaking gender commentary she had been doing for years. The breaking point supposedly came when Hoffman made comments in interviews about the challenges of playing female characters, as if he was pioneering territory that Tomlin had been exploring since the beginning of her career. She allegedly told friends that Hoffman was getting praised for stumbling into insights I've been performing for decades. The most revealing alleged incident occurred at a 1983 awards ceremony where both were nominees. Backstage witnesses claim Tomlin made pointed comments about actors who think putting on a dress makes them revolutionary, comments widely interpreted as directed at Hoffman's Tootsie performance. Industry insiders reported that Tomlin actively avoided projects where Hoffman was involved, telling agents she didn't want to work with method actors who think intensity equals depth. To her 3, Robin Williams. At number 3, we have Robin Williams, and this feud was about comedic authenticity versus manic performance energy. The bad blood allegedly started when Williams burst onto the scene with Mork and Mindy and immediately began being compared to Tomlin as another master of character-based comedy. But while Tomlin's characters were carefully crafted social commentary, Williams's approach was more improvisational and energetic. Industry sources claim Tomlin felt that Williams was getting credit for character work when what he was really doing was rapid-fire impression and voice changes without the deeper social insight that true character comedy required. She allegedly told friends that Williams was all surface, no substance. But the real tension came from their competing claims to being comedy innovators. Both were pushing boundaries, but in completely different ways. Tomlin reportedly resented that critics and audiences seemed to prefer Williams' manic energy to her more thoughtful approach to humor. The rivalry intensified when both were being offered similar television and film projects. Sources close to Tomlin claim she felt that Williams was taking roles that should have gone to more experienced character performers, telling industry friends that he was a stand-up comedian pretending to be an actor. The breaking point supposedly came when Williams made comments about how modern comedy needed to be faster and more energetic to connect with contemporary audiences. Tomlin allegedly took this as a direct criticism of her more deliberate comedic style. The most damaging alleged incident occurred during a 1980s comedy festival where both were performing. Witnesses claim Tomlin made pointed comments about comedians who mistake speed for intelligence and confuse audience exhaustion with genuine laughter. 2. Steve Martin. At number 2, we have Steve Martin, and this betrayal was about artistic evolution versus commercial sellout. This rivalry was particularly painful because Tomlin and Martin had initially been allies in the alternative comedy scene of the 1970s. Both were pushing against traditional stand-up and variety show formats, creating more intellectual and absurdist approaches to humor. The tension allegedly started when Martin's career exploded with The Jerk and subsequent film successes. Sources close to Tomlin claim she felt that Martin had abandoned the artistic principles they had shared, choosing commercial success over comedic integrity. But here's what made this personal. Industry insiders reported that Tomlin felt betrayed by Martin's transition from avant-garde performer to mainstream movie star. She allegedly told friends that Martin was selling out everything we worked to establish about intelligent comedy. The rivalry intensified when both were being offered similar film projects, but studios consistently chose Martin for his broader commercial appeal. Tomlin reportedly resented that her more challenging comedic approach was being passed over for Martin's safer, crowd-pleasing style. The breaking point supposedly came when Martin made comments in interviews about how comedy needed to be accessible to everyone, which Tomlin allegedly interpreted as a criticism of her more sophisticated material. She reportedly told industry friends that Martin had forgotten that comedy can be art, not just entertainment. The most revealing alleged incident occurred at a 1980s industry gathering where both were being honored for their contributions to comedy. Sources claim Tomlin's acceptance speech included pointed comments about artists who choose popularity over principle, remarks widely interpreted as directed at Martin. 1. Jane Wagner.
Tomlin and Jane Wagner. Just both of you talk to me about just the title, Free Women.
But the person Lily Tomlin hated most wasn't a fellow actor or comedian. It was Jane Wagner, her longtime creative partner, romantic partner, and the woman who allegedly betrayed her in the most devastating way possible. This is the shocker that changes everything we thought we knew about Tomlin's personal and professional life. While the public saw Wagner and Tomlin as the perfect creative couple, industry insiders claimed their relationship was poisoned by professional jealousy and creative control battles. The hatred allegedly started when Wagner began receiving more recognition for her writing contributions to Tomlin's performances. While Tomlin was the face of characters like Ernestino and Edith Ann, Wagner was increasingly being credited as the creative genius behind them. But here's where it gets really dark. Sources close to the couple claim that Wagner began leveraging their personal relationship to maintain creative control over Tomlin's career. She allegedly used their romantic connection to influence Tomlin's professional decisions, creating a toxic dynamic where personal and professional conflicts became inseparable. The breaking point supposedly came when Wagner began developing projects without Tomlin, using the characters and comedic style they had created together. Industry insiders claim Tomlin felt that Wagner was stealing her creative identity while simultaneously controlling her career. So there you have it. Lily Tomlin's comedy genius came with brutal rivalries and devastating personal betrayals. From ego-driven comedians to the ultimate creative partner betrayal, Tomlin fought battles nobody knew about. Which feud shocked you most? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more Hollywood drama.